Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the MotUS Edge. You are in for a special treat. Today, it is the Stacy and Casey show. Whoop, whoop.
Boom.
We are here today to talk about emotional intelligence for gym owners. So we do a lot of leadership and how to grow your business and how to do all of these technical things, but today's call is all about emotional intelligence.
I know I'm emotional. I'm not sure on the intelligent part, but I'm definitely emotional. This line of work will get you emotional sometimes. So
this is very true. This is very true. My husband, I think I'm emotional, but my husband says that I am a robot and I'm very logical and I have no emotions.
I am far more emotional than my wife. I'm the crier. She's not. Like, I'm the guy that, remember the old sappy lifesaver commercials? I would get like teared up at those. So. Dude,
so does Chris. So do you find that came after having children, or have you always been that way?
I think I've always been that way.
Really?
It doesn't take much to get me choked up. And man, I'm an ugly crier too. Like I can't, I just get ugly. I can't talk. I'm blowing snot bubbles. Like,
oh my goodness. Well, Chris, I feel like he definitely became way more emotional after having children. I feel like he was not that emotional. I mean, he was emotional beforehand, but like he's way more emotional now.
Well, that changes us. I mean, we all know you instantly change when you have children. That changes everything in your world. So makes sense.
So how hard for you, Casey, do you find it to be to recognize, like, in the heat of the moment, in the middle of a situation, do you find it hard to recognize that you could potentially be the one causing the problem? I know that's hard for you to believe that you would be the one causing the problem, but
I don't know. It's so difficult because I know early on in the business, I never thought I was like power hungry or a control freak or anything like that. But I probably was because I didn't, I felt like I needed to be involved in every little piece, Hey, if this group is doing this, I need to be there. If this group, even when I had nothing to do with it. So over the years, I've kind of gotten better at like, hey, that's not my lane. I don't need to be involved in that. And I trust that everybody's going to do it and do it well. So I guess the things that, that I'm involved in today, when they go poorly, it's pretty easy to see that it was my fault because, I try to stay out of the other things that other people are running. So.
I definitely agree. When I was younger, I probably didn't recognize if I was causing the problem or, in the middle of the moment, in the heat of the moment. I think, building up that emotional intelligence and being able to recognize those things, like in the moment when you're having a heated discussion with a staff member or an athlete or a coach or a parent, recognizing that you are creating, like I used to have this one guy, I loved him dearly, but he would always escalate a situation. Like his reactions and the way that he communicated would escalate the situation. And I would constantly have to try to say, like, dude, you are making it worse for yourself and the person that you're talking to. Like, I need you to understand that so that we can do better. Because what you're saying is very important and valuable and it makes sense. But the way that you're delivering it, it's making it worse and kind of escalating the situation. And so I feel like, those kind of things.
My mind went instantly to this coach we used to have, and I would walk by and listen to what he was saying. It wasn't anything like outrageous, but I would be like, dude, are you trying to have a parent meeting? Like, are you just go ahead and set the parent meeting? Because, what you're saying, you're definitely it's going to bring one on.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, my staff member used to think, you used to kind of treat me like, oh, you're just afraid to say what needs to be said. And anybody that knows me knows I am not afraid to say what needs to be said. But
you are not.
There is a time and a place and a right way to say it. I believe that it's important to say what needs to be said, but you don't have to do it meanly, and you don't have to do it in a way that is offensive. Now, that doesn't mean that the person may not be offended, or they may end up being offended, or they may have their feelings hurt because they don't like what you're saying, but it's still important to say it, I guess. And so I don't know. I definitely feel like emotional intelligence is something that, a lot of people think of it as something that you just have. And I disagree with that. I think that you may just have some to a degree, and just like physical gifts, right? Like physical athletic ability. There are people that have just naturally talented physical abilities that other people just don't have. I do think that there's some truth to that with emotional intelligence, but I also think, just like physical abilities, emotional intelligence can be learned and grown over time through experiences.
Takes practice.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the only way to get that experience is to be in those uncomfortable situations, to have a lot of experience in that, which is sucks.
Well, you said a word that I picked up on, clearly not related to you, but afraid, afraid to address a situation, afraid of conflict. I can relate to that. And early on in the business, I did a lot of things based on fear, which is never good, but things were a little different in the time. We had, around our area, you had coaches that would gym hop and literally take entire teams with them. And you would have kids that would gym hop and take entire teams with them. And, there was a fear of doing something wrong or saying something wrong. And, overnight you were going to lose your program or lose your business. And it took me a while to realize that anything I'm trying to lead or trying to do based on fear is not going to work out well. That's the thing. We want to attract those that want to be with us. And if somebody doesn't, those are the things that we can't control. So I think a lot of that emotional intelligence is based on being able to identify what you can and can't control, so that's
I agree.
That's been a big learning curve, and I'm still learning.
I think sometimes too, it's important and it's okay to learn to pause. If a situation is escalating out of control between yourself and a staff member, or two staff members, and you're observing the situation, or two parents, God, I wish that never happened, but it does. And, or yourself and a parent or whatever, like, I think it's okay to, number one, kind of have some boundaries that you teach everybody to set in the first place. And then number two, to say like, hey, we just need to take a step back here for a minute. I'm going to need you to go over there, or I'm going to need you to leave. I've definitely done that before. I think you and I have had this conversation before. So like the previous, like setting the boundaries ahead of time, I always had the 48-hour rule with my parents on event weekends specifically, not necessarily like everything, but I would just explain to them, look, event weekends are very stressful. The coaches are very much, myself and the coaches, we're all very focused on what we need to do, getting all the kids, all the places. We've got a lot of teams and everybody's busy, and we need to be focused on what we're doing. And so not everything's going to go perfect. I'm sure of it. And you're going to, there's going to be something that you want to come and talk to me about. That's fine. If it's an emergency, like a 911 emergency, then you can reach out to me. Otherwise,
absolutely,
you need to wait until 2 days after the competition, because I need a minute to recover and unwind so that I can talk to you effectively. Because if you come at me and I would tell them, just like I'm saying this to you right now at a parent meeting, I'd be like, if you come at me on a Monday afternoon or a Monday night when I've had not enough sleep and I've been stressed out about the weekend and the teams didn't do their best, let's say, for example, that hurts my heart just as much. And you come at me on a Monday afternoon. It's not
going to go well.
No, it isn't going to go well. And I'm going to put that on you because I have explained to you that this is like, I am telling you, this is what I need. Now, if it's an emergency.
We preach that in our gym, and there is a way we do things at competition, but there's a way, we exercise the 24-hour rule in the gym. We tell the parents, we tell the coaches, everyone, after a rough practice where someone's upset, that's not the best time to necessarily deal with. Like, it's not going to go well if you deal with it right then. So, we ask that everybody give us 24 hours, and because that's the thing, just sometimes you get so wound up and so just impulsive, and I get it. The parents, especially, their kid is their number one thing. That is the most important thing in their lives, and we understand that. But sometimes they need that time to separate themselves from it. And exactly, we said the same thing at competition. Like, we call it house business. So, if something happens at competition that is not, like you said, a 911 emergency, then let's deal with that when we get back to our gym. Let's wait and deal with that when we get back to our house. And that's where we can take care of it, not in the middle of a competition with 20 plus teams competing.
Yeah. I haven't had any, crazy situations in a while, primarily because I'm not necessarily working with the kids and the coaches every single,
Better
or the
knock
kids and the
on
parents.
wood.
I know. Gosh, and now that I said that, but I'm not with the kids and the parents day to day all the time. I remember this one time, and this was early on in my career. I was very, very young. I had a mom who came to me at a competition, and I don't remember why she was upset, to be honest with you, but she was not happy about something that was going on. And she walked up to me we are in the middle of the competition, and she was F this and F you and F it in my face, her pointing her finger like in my face. And I was like so taken back. And it was the first time that I really had any kind of like significant altercation like that with a parent. And I remember just, I just kind of put my hands up and I was like, I'm going to need you to back up and take a minute. And I was like, we can have this conversation.
About what you're saying.
Yes. Like, we can have this conversation, but I'm going to need you to calm down so that I can understand what you need and I can help you. Well, she just kept on. And I was like, okay, I'm going to need you to leave now. And if you don't leave,
Security?
I'm going to, yep. And I was like, if you don't leave, I'm going to find somebody at the competition, security at the competition, to escort you out. You need to go. You can send your kid. You can leave your child here with another family, or you can take her with you and we'll figure it out. But like, you're not going to stand here and talk to me like that. And we will deal with this when we get home. So I think, it's okay in extreme situations, to do that. And I ended up actually kicking her out of the gym when we got home. But then, oh gosh, it was probably 7, 8. It might have even been 10 because her daughter at the time was really young. Might have been almost 10 years later. I let her back, and we're actually friends now. It's all good. But that particular day,
we've all had our moments.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's the thing. Everybody loses it from time to time. I would struggle with sometimes pausing because I wanted to address it right then, because, I would go home and I would get in my brain and like, just play out the scenario in my brain all night long. So then that would bother me. So then that would force me to want to address things earlier. So oftentimes too early. So that's something I've had to practice, is using the pause button and being able to turn that off. I mean, I had a situation yesterday where someone, a parent, was upset, and I was able to instantly identify that it wasn't a big deal. Now, it may have been a big deal to them, but it wasn't. Their kid wasn't in danger. No, there was nothing like that. And like, okay, I don't have time to deal with this right now. And I set up a call for sometime later. And I was able to not think about it at all. But in the past, I couldn't do that. I wanted to address it right then.
Yeah, no, that's hard. Have you ever found yourself, I'm just curious, I think it's the mama bear in me, but have you ever found yourself appropriately or inappropriately jumping in a situation that's maybe not even yours? Like, I have a hard time like watching. I just feel like we should treat others with respect, like, period. Like, I can be disappointed or angry or frustrated or whatever. I can still be respectful when I'm talking to you. And so when I see somebody being super disrespectful to another human being, sometimes I've learned to bite my tongue, but I used to not be able to bite my tongue. And I would walk up to the situation. It could be a gym owner, I don't even know, having a fight with their parent at a competition. And I'm like, hey, is there something I can do here? Like, do you need some help?
I'm the peacekeeper. I hate conflict. I really don't like it. I feel like once again, I've gotten better through time and experience and maybe a smidge of maturity. But, I've always taken that peacekeeper role. So I would do that, but, not necessarily call someone out on what they were doing. I'll just try to divert,
Oh,
hey,
for sure.
Bring it over here to me.
Yeah.
I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
You go and relax over here. Let me deal with this stressful situation. Because I feel like I'm not great at a lot of things. I am typically really good, though, I think, in the moment and in the scene and being able to stay calm and really think things through. Um, and it's I can do that in a public setting. I'm not as good at that, at home. I'm not as good at that in my personal life.
Oh, well, home for all of us is a completely different story, I feel like. And yes, I would try to deflect as well, or just simmer down the situation or whatever. I mean, sometimes even if there's two strangers in a heated discussion and you just walk up and ask if everything's okay, and you're a stranger walking up and asking if everything's okay, 9 times out of 10, it kind of diffuses the situation because it lets both of those people know, like, whoa, we're drawing attention to ourselves.
Right.
We need to calm.
We're
we need to calm
adults
down
here, and we're about to fight in the cheerleading competition.
Right.
So maybe that isn't a good idea.
This random lady's walking up asking if there's, we need help. But anyway, yeah, I find myself doing that. One of the things I think I got really good at when I was in the gym all the time. So I'm trying to remember how your facility is laid out. But I feel like, a parent that wants to can walk in to anywhere. So, into the gym. So we used to have, our bathroom was inside of the gym area, which I hated. So by the way, just for anybody listening, if you're building a facility, like, make sure that there's access to the bathrooms from the parent area or the lobby, and the only access doesn't exist inside of the gym because it's a pain. So anyway, lesson learned the hard way. So the parents would have to come into the gym area where the kids are practicing, walk across, like, along the edge, but still they'd have to walk along the edge of the spring floor to get into the bathrooms. And so it just caused a lot of opportunity for parents to then grab a coach and have a chit chat with them while the coach,
just talk during practice.
Correct. Like, I have a question. So I see you, you're right there, you're 10 steps away, and I'm going to go ask that question. So I always got really good at, like, yeah, sure. Come on, let's, like, come with me this way. And I would just, as I'm like talking with them, I would, like, escort them back out into the lobby and be like, here is so-and-so at the front desk, and you can schedule an appointment and we'll talk about this tomorrow or whatever.
Yep.
But made it very, like, nonchalant, like, just cool. Let's walk and talk and escort them back out of the room.
Well, that's a great reminder, because it seems like that a parent should know, do not walk on the floor and approach a coach. But do they really know that? Have you told them? Have you made that clear? Because there are times where I forget those things that are so obvious to us that have been doing it for 20 plus years. But to that new parent with a 6-year-old, they may think that that's totally normal and totally appropriate to go out on the floor.
Yeah, they don't know any different. You're absolutely right. So you talked about being calm in situations. So how do you feel like you manage the calm in a chaotic situation? What do you do, like, internally? What's going through your brain? Tell us your secret sauce, Casey. I feel like you're such an even keel all the time. Just kind of chill.
So this really came, I think, from my coaching days, because I was not good at if the team messed up, I wasn't good at hiding that on my face. So, we would be 30 seconds into a routine, they'd drop a stunt, and I'm throwing up my hands and mad and don't even want to watch the rest of the routine because I know we just lost, whereas there are other coaches, and literally there's one stunt in the air and they're going nuts like these kids just hit the routine of a lifetime. And I couldn't do that. So I stopped standing up front. I went to the back of the arena and I could sit back there, and really nobody knew I was back there. But that kind of taught me to, in other situations, to be off and in the background so that I could assess what was going on. Because when I would sit back there with my team, literally, if I had 30 seconds, so it would take me 30 seconds to walk from the back of the arena to meet them at the video review. And that 30 seconds was enough to not, like, go off on, like, I could give myself a pep talk of, hey, they didn't drop those stunts on purpose.
Right.
They know they messed up, like, so I
Yep.
try to, like, I learned that from coaching, but then I try to do it in the other situations as well. If I can give myself just a little bit of time to think through what that next move is, because if you don't have time to think, that's when you become reactive. And that may be good in fight or flight, but it may not be good either.
So I know for me, I feel like at a young age, I don't feel like I was very good at that. But then I had been in enough situations, you make enough mistakes in the beginning, you learn real quick. You gain that emotional intelligence really quickly. And and so I feel like I got better at it. And there was a good, like, I hate to say it, but 15, 20-year stretch. Yes, I am that old in the middle where I I think I was, probably the building could be burning down around me and I would just be so calm. As a matter of fact, I remember I had to go into the hospital one time for surgery and my husband was with me and they take they put the IV in and kind of get me ready to go back for my surgery and they take your blood pressure because they want to make sure that everything is good. Well, my blood pressure at that time when they took it, it was like, I don't know, Casey, it was like 98/57 or something.
Those are the good old days, right?
and the nurse or whatever that was taking it is like, this is really low. Like you usually, she said, she was like, usually like you're getting ready to go into surgery. Most people's blood pressure is elevated, not low. She's like, do you have low blood pressure? I'm like, no, my blood pressure is perfect. And my husband leans over and he's like, she's like a random weirdo when high stress or like things should stress her out. She goes like really low the other way. And it's true. Like I used to be so calm and be able to smile and just kind of like, it's okay. Like, it's all right. I understand that we're upset. It's going to be fine. But I find now all of a sudden, like in the last couple of years, I feel like I don't know, like I need to do better. Maybe I haven't been in enough. Maybe I'm out of practice. I'm not really sure. Maybe I'm just older and tired. Maybe I'm getting grumpy in my old age. I don't know, but I do not have as much patience to be calm. I try to
remind myself daily to not. I don't want to become an angry old man because that is the thing. Is I've aged and I pay attention to other people that have aged. And you run into some really, really happy 75-year-olds that are not complaining and not griping about the younger generations, and they're living this happy life. And then you run into some 75-year-olds that are upset and angry about everything. So I try to learn from that. We keep using the word experience, but that's a thing that during these stressful situations, what I can guarantee is that there's going to be another stressful situation. Well, I'm still standing. I'm still alive. I've still got a business, and like I said, early on, it was the fear of, I literally had the fear when I would sit in the office and someone would call to drop their class, and I could turn that into the gym is shutting down with for all I knew, they were dropping their class for that month because they were going to take a bunch of vacations or whatever. And, I would turn it into something bigger than it was. But many, many years into this business, what we realize is that things happen. We're all human. These stressors are going to come and it's going to be okay. And you're going to get through them. But there's another one on the horizon. So if you don't learn how to deal with it, how to manage it, then goodness gracious, you better go. And I mean, we are doing a team sport and owning a company, working in a company, being you're a part of a team, and if you can't handle that, then, you got to go and do something by yourself.
I agree. I think one of the things I've learned earlier or older, like, oh my goodness, I can't even talk. One of the things I've learned later on in life is what I was trying to say. Through that experience is acknowledging other people's emotions and feelings. Just because the person that you're talking to feels a certain way, and maybe you didn't intend to create that feeling, or maybe they've misperceived the situation, or whatever the case may be, they have a feeling. And I, as the younger version of myself, would kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but I would brush that off like, well, you're being ridiculous. You shouldn't feel that way because this is what happened. I'm trying to think of an example, but the point being, if you're upset, Casey, with me because I I don't know, I did something that upset you. I've gotten better at an older age at acknowledging like how you feel. I appreciate that you feel that way. I recognize that you feel that way. I acknowledge that you feel that way. I am sorry that you feel that way. My intention was this over here. You know what I mean? I think that, I don't know, that was something that I feel like as I got older, I realized like just because I disagree doesn't mean their emotion is wrong. Their emotion is what they feel. And it's okay that they feel how they feel. And sometimes just acknowledging that helps them feel better.
Wait, so you're saying that it's okay if people think differently than we do? Like maybe you need to make a Facebook post about that right around election time or something.
Oh God. Right. I know. Yeah, you're right.
That is a thing of like, sometimes it's so frustrating to try to understand, well, goodness gracious, how could this person feel this way? I've done this, in your head, you're like, I've done all these things for them and they don't feel appreciated. Like, do they not know what I've done? And then, like I said, I'm a people pleaser. It's important for me that people are happy. So I struggle with taking on their feelings with mine, which make it even more frustrating. If you're sad, well, hell, I'll be sad with you. Come on, let's be sad together. And that's not a good spot either, because then you're not a benefit to them or yourself. So
you're not helping them. Yeah, you're not helping them move out of that feeling or, whatever. Here's one. Here's an example. So I had a mom. She was very angry. And she was a mom that like didn't really complain much at all. But she was like, I need to speak with you immediately. This is extremely important. And so she calls me and she tells me that her coach told her daughter, and her daughter was definitely one of, she was a very dedicated, solid athlete, good kid. And she's like, I'm so disappointed. My daughter's coach told her that she was not pulling her weight. And I just don't understand. And that's just unacceptable. She is at every single practice and she works really hard and blah, 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 blah. And she is just devastated, so much so that she doesn't even know if she can come back into the gym. And so knowing the coach that she was talking about, I was like, okay, I definitely thank you for coming and telling me, and I always try to remember that, like, thank you for bringing this to my attention. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Because you oftentimes have parents that they say, well, I'm afraid to tell anybody. I'm afraid to say anything because I'm afraid of backlash. I'm afraid it's going to affect my kid.
I want it to be held against my kid.
Correct. Yeah. And I get that too, because I got kids, and I feel, I sometimes feel that way too. You got to create a space where the parents feel like they can come talk to you. So I said, thank you for letting me know. I feel pretty confident that there's some type of miscommunication that has occurred. I could be wrong, but just based on what I know of your child and based on what I know of the coach, like, I think there's more to the story and I got to go figure that out. So give me a minute to go figure that out and I'll get back to you. Well, it turns out the coach was teaching them how to basket toss. They were a level 2 like youth team. And I'm trying to remember, this was back in the day. I think they still did like straight ride baskets at that time in level 2 youth. And she was doing the hanging drill where the flyers put their hands on the base's shoulders and they tell them to hold their weight. You've got to hold your weight in your arms. And I guess the little girl wasn't understanding what she meant. So she kept reiterating, like, the bases are going to
holding your weight.
Correct. You're not holding your weight. The bases are going to move their hands away and I need you to hold your weight. You're not holding your weight. And that's what happened. And unfortunately, I feel like they finished the year, but they quit after that. Like, I could not convince this little girl and her mother that that's what was happening.
That is, goodness gracious. I've had so many parent meetings. Like, were you calling my kid a liar?
Yeah.
No. But someone else is someone else sees it and views it differently.
You know what I think? Somebody said this to me one time, Casey, and I feel like just based on what you just said, it reminded me. It's like, if we told you all of the things, like talking to the parents, if we told you all of the things that the kids say about you at practice, you'd be interested, but we blow most of it off.
It's I've struggled with my own children because I don't know if it's because of the job. I don't know if it's my personality. I don't know what it is, but in my house, I am one of the teachers always right. The coach is always right. My kid's
Same.
always lying. And
What did you do?
Correct.
Same.
Correct. Why'd you make them yell at you? Like
100%.
you know, and that's changed, you know, and I think you know, today's society is different. And I think that's a positive thing. I'm not saying
I was going to say, I think in some ways, I think that's actually a good thing. Yeah, although I am still that parent to my kids.
Parents are trying to teach their kids to stand up for themselves and talk for themselves and things like that. So, you know, that's a challenge, you know, and there's times where I see that the way I did it with my own children was wrong because I didn't stand up for them, you know, when they were right or help them in a situation because I was always looking for what they did wrong.
Well, and I think to your point too, Casey, you know, it's important. I think sports are a tremendous way for kids to learn to advocate for themselves and have those conversations with their coaches where the parents don't have to come in and speak for them. You know, the athlete should be able to go and express their concern or their issue or whatever with the coach directly. And I think, you know, for all the gym owners out there listening and the coaches out there listening, like we have a duty, in my opinion, to create safe spaces inside of our programs where kids feel like they can come and do that and their parents don't have to do it for them, because that's part of the benefit of participating in sports, in my opinion. Like, it's not just about the routines and the competitions and all the other things. Like, it is about helping teach them, like, hey, I have an issue, or I don't understand why I got put in this spot in the routine, or I don't understand why, you know, you're no longer correcting me, or I don't, that they can learn to have those conversations. They will become better adults because of that. But we as coaches and owners have to, you know, create those spaces for the athletes to do that. It does go both ways.
We've got to create a space too where people can make mistakes. You know, now there's a level of mistake where you make that mistake and you're done time number one. But let's think about it. Like when I was a first time parent, when I had my first child at 25 years old, I had no clue what I was doing. No clue.
Right.
You know, other than, you know, what I had learned from my own parents, which I think was pretty good. But, you know, especially as my kids started playing sports, I didn't know what to do, you know, so that is we're not just coaching the kids, you know, and then that's the same thing with our coaching staff. Like a lot of them, some of us have children and some of us don't. You know, we have some really good coaches that don't have children of their own. You know, and there are things that we have to teach and explain to them. A classic thing that came to mind, this came up in our gym the other day. We had some parents getting upset. And the coach didn't necessarily understand, well, we cancel practice early. It's not like we're adding practice. And I was like, I know, but they've got 3 kids. They're running around. They were an hour away. And you sent out a text message, hey, we're going to end early. They get frustrated because they're operating off of a schedule. Because they have to, because they have 3 kids.
You messed up their schedule.
Correct. But if you don't have kids and like your only schedule is just you don't really understand that and know that. So we're trying to teach, you know, that's the thing. We're trying to teach the parents, the kids, the coaches, everybody here is learning. So
I want to make one final point before we go into your commercial, and just to say that, you know, for any leaders, whether you're a gym owner or a coach, or you're leading an office or a teacher, whatever, your emotional intelligence and the way that you handle situations is an example to the people that are underneath of you. So also keeping that in mind, you know, it's, you know, when you are the leader, it's a tremendous responsibility for all of the things, you know, and it's not just how you behave in a situation. It's that behavior is an example to everyone else. And what kind of an example do you want to set, and what kind of culture do you want to build? Because that is how the coaches are going to eventually act. That is how the parents are going to eventually act. That is how the athletes are going to eventually act. And so I think it's important to keep that in perspective.
Yep. You nailed it. If you go nuts on the competition official, don't be surprised when your families do the same thing.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell everybody about the Prime Alliance, I think.
This season, your journey doesn't just end, it finals. The Prime Alliance unites leading event producers to create something big, MotUS members get 15% off all Prime Alliance events and the chance to earn bids to the One Prime Finals in Virginia Beach, Sandusky, Ohio, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Orlando, Florida. Experience something new. Celebrate your season in unforgettable places. Learn more at theprimealliance.com. That's theprimealliance.com. Interested in attending the One Prime Finals? You can learn more about the event opportunities at theoneprimefinals.com. That's TheOnePrimeFinals.com. The One Prime Finals. If you didn't know, the one.
Now you know.
Now you know. The One and the All-Star finale merged to become the One Prime Finals and create an even bigger, more awesome end of season experience for all of the athletes on planet Earth.
Pretty exciting stuff. I mean, the One has a great history already. And I think that, through this merger, then we're going to be able to take it even to the next level. So it's something we're excited about. So good stuff.
Love it.
All right. I think it's dad joke time. You ready for a dad joke?
I'm ready. Not
a question today. Today's a statement. So, which is about French fries. And I love French fries. So
I do
all
too,
this time, I thought French fries came from France. Turns out they're cooked in grease. Boom.
Sometimes a lot of it.
That's from our very own John right there in Tennessee with you guys. So John works with us. So he submitted that one. Thanks, John.
Thanks for submitting a dad joke, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Make sure if you got a favorite dad joke, send it to us. You can email them to Stacy, Stacy at joinmotus.com, or you can DM us on social media at joinmotus.
Boom. Oh, reading the room during team meetings and parent conversations. I'll even add staff meetings to that list. Learning how to read the room and use your emotional intelligence to read the room. That's also a skill.
I always want to leave something better. I want it to be better than how I came to it. So I feel like the same thing about a meeting or a talk or anything like that. I hate to leave without everybody feeling good. Once again, I think that's the people pleaser in me, but I want it to end on a positive note where everybody, maybe you can't even have resolution, but at least everybody feels, heard and feels like that they were respected and listened to.
I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I feel like in today's day and age, there's not a whole lot of hopefully there's still a lot of in-person staff meetings, but there's not a whole lot of in-person parent meetings as far as like group-wide parent meetings. It's a lot of that's done on Zoom now. So it's a little different than it was back in the day, but even in one-on-one, parent meetings, like I was having a parent meeting one time with mom and she was having some concerns and I could just tell like she was sitting across the desk from me and her body language as we were talking, I was like, I don't know why, but in my brain, it's like reading the room. It's a sixth sense. It's paying attention to all of the things going on. Her body language, the way that she was kind of fidgeting, the look on her face and her expression. And I just stopped the conversation and I like reached out. Her hand was kind of sitting on my desk and I reached out and I put my hand on top of her hand and I said, "Are you okay?" Like I just literally like, "Are you okay?" And she kind of looked up at me and like tears immediately started like going down her face. And she's like, "No, I'm not okay." And then it turned into like a 45-minute, personal therapy session about what was going on in her life. She just needed a moment to talk about it had nothing to do with the gym. And she was not okay. She was just not okay. And kind of by the time we got to the end of that, everything at the gym was okay because she was like, I feel like I'm just unpacking all of my stuff here. Well, and I'm sorry. I'm like, you know what? It's okay.
It's great you said that because we really teach to our coaches, hey, we don't know what these kids are going through. We don't know, like, this may be the best 2 hours of their day, of their week, of their whatever. So like, we don't know what's going on in their lives. things happen, divorce and bad things and all this. So the parents are dealing with that same exact thing, and we've run into that before where, they want to lash out at anything. It's easy to lash out at the gym, but the reality is the issue is at their house, and that's something we talk to our employees about often. If your home life isn't in order, your work life's not going to be in order. So it's the same thing with our folks, our athletes. If they're struggling at home, they're probably going to struggle at the gym. So just being empathetic to that, or just open to, understanding that, like, it may just be more than they're upset that they're back in the dance, standing in the back of the dance. Just take that. If you're going to take the time and meet with them, then like you said, take that time.
And it could be that they're upset that they're standing in the back of the dance. It could be just that, and you don't want to like minimize that by asking them if it's something else or just assuming it's something else. But sometimes it is a whole lot of something else. And
Right.
People aren't always very open about what they're going through. There's a lot of people, although it's hard to believe because, it seems like everybody puts their business out there for the world to see. That's actually not always true. There's a lot of people still that are very private and they don't want to talk about what's going on in their lives. So you have no idea that, they've got a grandmother living in the home that's dying, and that's
Right.
what's going on every single day. And, if you've ever been through that before, it's a lot of emotional stuff and work and exhaustion and, whatever, or that the father had a stroke and is no longer able to work. And mom is, helping him with his rehabilitation, and they're doing their best to get their kids to the gym. And, they're not sharing that. And then 2 months later, mom's having a nervous breakdown in the lobby because she's not gotten the help that she's needed for the last 2 months. You've got no idea what's going on. And you're like, why didn't you tell us? We could have helped you.
And it's so tough. That's something I used to talk about with my office manager, bookkeeper, business mentor, Miss Susie. We would talk about, like, because we've always wanted to help people. And that's something that she really taught me, is being helpful and fair. But then we would discuss, when is the help actually hurting them, and like I said, you hear these horror stories sometimes, and it seems like you're being unsympathetic, or you can be, but the reality is, if you're dealt with the fourth death in the family this season, you probably need to take some time off from cheerleading, because we're trying to hold up standards for the team. We're trying to be empathetic for everyone, but we're also, when you help someone, are you really helping them? Because that's a thing before of, like, hey, they can't pay their fees. Well, if they can't pay their fees, can they buy a plane ticket to NCA? Can they get in a $400 hotel room for that event?
There's just more stress added to the plate. That's not necessary. It's not necessary. Sometimes life is difficult, and that's okay. Like, and you gotta do what you gotta do to get through it.
I never forget. It was a call. I was in the office and I heard it, and this dad called, and he was literally going off on the office staff and, like, you have got to refund that and put it back, because they had hit his credit card for what he owed. He had a balance and he had a credit card on file. And he was like, I can't pay my mortgage, and I'm like, goodness great. I believe him. That's sad.
Right.
Like, then why are you doing this level of cheerleading,
Right.
and why are you putting us in this position? Like, we're like, well, you can't do this. We're going to have to remove them from the team. But it puts us in a bad spot of, like, kind of having to be the parent and not explain to the kid that you can't afford this right now, and that's okay. So
I think when talking to parents and having conversations, again, talking to coaches, talking to athletes, even, I think reading their body language and trying to understand where they are, and not attacking them, escalating the situation. I know girls, especially, sometimes, if they've had a bad day, they'll come in and maybe they're pouting, or they've got their arms crossed, or they're just, they've just, I don't know, they've got kind of that stone face, and you are asking them to do something and they're not snapping out of that. And sometimes in that moment, there are coaches that want to, like, needle that kid.
Or the eye roll.
Oh God, the eye roll, the eye roll. Yes.
It never bothered me, but it bothers a lot of coaches.
It does bother. And the eye roll was one that used to, I'm like, do not roll your eyes at me. But anyway, so, learning to recognize when is a good time to push on that and when is a good time to just, we're just going to let that simmer for today. And hopefully by ignoring it, we're going to get through this practice and she's going to snap out of it and leave in a good mood for whatever's going on in her day. That's got nothing to do with us.
Well, I think so much of that too is assessing the rapport that you have with the individuals that you're around, because that's a thing of like, not everybody is pumped up, happy go lucky cheerleader. And a lot of people have a very serious look on their face. I think you do that from time to time, but like, I know you, I have a rapport with you, so if I come in, I'm not like, man, why is Stacy mad? Like,
are you saying, Casey, that I have RBF, which for anybody that doesn't know what RBF is, resting BITCH face? Are you trying to say I have? I had a parent tell me that one time, actually. And she said, you just don't seem approachable, because she did not call it RBF, but she's like, you just don't seem approachable because your face is always so serious all the time. And she's like, I'm telling you this because, and this was when I was younger. And I actually really love this mom. And she's like, I'm telling you this because I care about you and I think you're doing a great job. And I want you to know that I think if you like worked on that a little bit, you'd seem a little bit more approachable. And I actually was very conscientious about that. And I did better. But as I said earlier, I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm like, I'm back to RBF again. I need to do better. Anyway.
Well, and like I said, I'm the people pleaser, the ultimate politician. So I'm coming in with a smile and high-fiving you, even though I know you're mad. So, right. But like I said, I think so much of it, reading that room is, do I have a rapport with this person? First of all, we get a lot more grace when we have a rapport with somebody and we can, I think everybody can often be way more honest with each other with that. But, when you don't have a rapport with them, I think it is important to read that room. Like you said, with the mom who just looks so upset, you taking a minute to realize that and like, are you okay? And just a simple 3 words right there changed the course of what that meeting, what was going to happen by you reading the room there.
Yeah. I also think that, it's important for coaches, especially, and owners, anybody that's working with children, to recognize, like you said, Casey, you're like, I'm the guy that's coming in and I'm smiling and high-fiving them, like no matter what, because that's your personality. And I will attest, and Casey already called me out on it. That is not my personality. However, I understand that basically I understand my job as a coach or an educator. I was a school teacher, for a time before not even before, at the same time. So I was a school teacher. I was always, for the vast majority of my career, in front of kids, teaching, coaching, whatever. And as a cheerleader, like I understood to flip the switch. So, when I walk into a room to coach athletes, my face is, I am like 100 miles an hour, energetic, eyes big smile, let's go, and that's my energy the entire time. And I change that based on who I am coaching. So I will definitely be more serious with older kids, but I still have like a more energetic, smiley face on. When I'm working with 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds, I might as well be a clown, So, I mean, I am like, woohoo, let's go, and shuffle, with the tap lessons. And so I think learning that too, like acknowledging your personality and being what others need, like them where they need you to be, and not just being, well, this is just how I am. I could just be like, well, I just coach with RBF because that's who I am. That is my face when I'm not thinking about it, but I've learned to think about it when I need to.
Well, what I've realized first of all, you can't make someone be a different personality. And what I've also learned is everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. That was something that I had to, I was always the happy-go-lucky guy. Everything was a joke. I turned everything into a joke. And then when something serious came, like, why didn't anybody take me serious? Well, duh, because you're always joking. That's why. So, those are things of really like, learning the person you are and being true to that. But then, a word I love that I use often is acceptance. The acceptance that someone is different and actually enjoying that they're different than we are.
Yeah.
I feel like early on, I'm like, gosh, if the rest of the world would just be like me, everything would be okay. Well, that's silly. So
I think also sometimes emotional intelligence is just knowing when to shut up and listen.
Yep.
Just knowing that you need to just listen. And when I'm on the phone, sometimes talking to, like, I'll be talking to a manager or an owner of a gym, and they're talking. Are you still there? And I'm like, yes, I'm just listening.
That's something I feel like I've gotten better at, because I used to feel like I needed to interject into everything to show my worth or my value. And now I'm like, I don't have anything to add, so I'm not going to add anything.
Well, and I think too, Casey, it's not even necessarily to show your worth and your value. I mean, maybe sometimes, yes, but I think sometimes you feel like they want an answer or a solution, or they're looking for, a solution to the problem. And sometimes they just really want you to listen.
That is something, you're absolutely right. Roger and I talk about that a lot. Oftentimes they're not looking for a solution. They're not looking for an answer. It is the way it is, and let me tell you how it is, and I just want you to listen to me.
Yeah,
and that's enough.
Or they're trying to. I know I do this a lot of times, actually. Like I'm trying to work it out in my own head, so I'll vent about it, and then in venting about it, the light bulb goes off, and I'm like, oh, this is what I need to do.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to work it out. We'll say this: I'm trying to work it out passionately.
Understood.
Oh, it's funny. I also think it's important too to know that, just because you're empathizing with somebody's feeling doesn't mean that it's correct. And it could be both things. For example, social media is a big thing. And I feel like kids have a hard time. They're getting better, I think, but I think that they have a hard time sometimes, with things that they see on social media. Kids can be cruel. Adults can be cruel. I think a lot of times people talk about kids on social media. I think that adults are equally, if not more, cruel than kids, and bully adults more, on social media. And it's toxic, and it is very difficult to not want to respond your opinion.
We've talked about that. Type in the response and then erase it.
Correct. And so if you are faced with a situation where an employee, for example, or an athlete, or a parent, whatever, did respond, you can absolutely empathize with the fact that they responded, because you cannot, as a human being on planet Earth today, tell me that you have never had that feeling of hurt while you've been looking at something on social media and you wanted to just, back on your keyboard warrior. It happens. And so if somebody does something wrong and they respond to an attack and they shouldn't have, you can empathize with understanding why they did that, but you can also explain to them that this is not okay. This is still not okay. We cannot do that.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I think it's important to know that.
My dad has this saying, everybody has the right to be wrong. Actually, that is not a saying. I'll say what it really is. Everybody has the right to be an asshole, is what he says. But, that's something I think about all the time, of it is not my job to convince someone that they're wrong or change them. It is our job to, like you said, hey, let me tell you a different way. Let me show you this. Let me, those things like that. But the reality is, goodness gracious, we would all be so miserable if we spent all day trying to correct and comment on every Facebook post that we didn't agree with.
Well, I think sometimes it's just, it's acknowledging. And I use the Facebook thing as an example because it's just an easy example, right? But
absolutely,
I think it's teaching the people that you work with, everybody in your circle, hey, I might have not had the strength to not respond either, because I'm human and it hurt my feelings too. Or maybe it didn't hurt my feelings because I don't particularly care about that, but I understand that it hurt your feelings and I would have wanted to react the same way. But we can all be better and we should all do better, and we shouldn't do that, especially because we have kids that are looking, listening and looking and whatever. So I think it's more just about Look, I agree, and I feel you. Like I get it, but we can't behave that way. Like I'm going to try my best to not behave that way. And I'm going to think about you the next time I'm in a situation like that. And I'm going to be able to maybe pause and not respond because I'm going to think about you and I want to do better for you. So I'm not going to respond to that Facebook post. And maybe that helps that person do better the next time as well.
I talked about earlier of taking that time, having that 30 seconds to figure out my reaction, my interaction, what it's going to be. That's a question I often ask, am I adding to or taking away? If I say something, type something, write something, send this text, am I adding to this situation in a positive way?
Right.
Or am I taking away? Or is it a complete waste of time because it's neither,
Well, and shoot, that's a whole nother podcast we should do. Is probably like written communication and how you because I always ask myself, like, am I escalating the situation and am I firing back in a way that's going to get me a reaction back? Because at the end of the day, you want to end it. So your communication needs to end it and not be such that you're provoking the person on the other side to like bring it back. But I feel like, Casey, that's a whole other podcast. That's a whole other podcast topic. Let's do it.
That's the thing.
In the meantime, we are starting something new on our podcast to have a little
rapid
bit of fun.
Fire.
Yeah, before we wrap it up. So I think it starts with you, Casey. So
rapid fire questions here,
Yep.
Stace.
All right.
Sweet or spicy?
Ooh, sweet.
Your turn, right? Back
no,
and
you
forth?
go. Oh, no, you keep going. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Early morning practice or late night cleanup?
Oh man, I would have to say previously late night cleanup, now early morning practice.
All right. Calm leader or fiery motivator?
Both, depends on the time. I think if Casey were going to answer that, you would say fiery motivator.
I have seen both. I've seen both sides of that. So yeah, nailed it. Read the room or trust your gut?
Oh, both. I do both a lot, honestly.
Deep breath or walk it off?
Gosh, I hate to keep saying both, but I feel like probably more deep breath, but sometimes I need to walk it off.
All right. Parent meeting, coffee or courage?
Courage.
All right. Do you overthink it or do you wing it?
I definitely do both here. I overthink a lot, but I'm okay winging it sometimes too when I have to. I prefer to overthink though.
Yeah, I overthink all night long when I'm by myself, and I wing it when I'm
right
in the moment.
Right. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Sweet or spicy?
Man, I can't answer. I love hot honey. I like them both.
Dress it now or sleep on it?
Man, I wish I could sleep on it, but I'm more of an address it right now. Rip the Band-Aid off.
So I don't know why I hate to keep saying that. I'm a both. Like sometimes I'm like, you know what? Let's sleep on it. We'll revisit it tomorrow. And sometimes I'm like, nope, we need to rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm getting better. I'm trying to practice that.
Yeah.
If it is not, if I can make it in my head, which I know it shouldn't be about me, but if I can make it in my head of like, this can wait, can I turn it off and not think about it? Then
yeah. Lead with heart or lead with logic?
Heart.
I am definitely logic. Oh, there's no question there. I took some test one time, Casey, one of those like personality tests, and my logic score was a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was so illogical to me that other people had like anything other than that. Like I was like, what do you mean? Like some of my friends, coworkers, whatever, we had a bunch of people take this test. Some of them had 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s on the like emotion versus logic. And I'm like, I don't even understand that.
I don't want to build the puzzle. I want to look at it after you're done with it. So
music loud or music low during practice?
Low. Oh. I don't like loud anymore.
I am the exact opposite. I want to feel it on my skin. Talk it out or let it simmer?
Talk it out.
Same. Team meeting, short and sharp or long and thorough?
I am a long and thorough type of guy. It needs to be short. I'm not saying that my way is the best way, but I'm the 1 hour meeting guy at the gym. Everybody else is the 20-minute meeting.
So I'm gonna actually I'm gonna tell everybody a little funny at the moment. So I think there's a time and a place for both, and I think that when you need to have, like, you can have a long and thorough meeting, or you can have a short and sharp. And anytime that Kevin and Casey and Cole are involved in a meeting, it's long and it's not always thorough. And there's lots of go talk about this and go talk about that, and let's do this, and let's think about 10 years down the road. And all of that is extremely important, but we also need to like plan for what's happening today. And so I've recently kicked them out of meetings lately because I'm like, the rest of us over, like, we need a sharp and to the point meeting, and y'all can't come on this meeting.
Stacy sets a good agenda and wants to follow that agenda. And I usually read the agenda after the meeting instead of before it.
Oh, anyway,
Shouldn't have said that.
Love you guys, and it's all good. Love you guys, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, sometimes you just got to get things done, and I need them to not be on the call so that we can do that.
Absolutely.
Okay, you already said this, but we're going to ask you again anyway. Overthink it or wing it?
Like I said, I'm overthinking it when I'm by myself. I'm winging it when I'm in a group.
Yeah, I think let us know if you like to overthink it or wing it. Everybody's different. Well, that was a fun one today. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the MotUS Edge. Check out our shorts, and by shorts I mean our short videos, and not our Lululemons. Thank you, and like and comment. We love to hear from you. Give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS. Follow us. Follow our show wherever you listen to our podcasts. And if you like what we're doing and you want to hear more, leave us a comment and tell all of your friends. And I forgot to mention that we now have TikTok at Join MotUS. So go follow us on TikTok, and you can also see our shorts there.
Stacy and I love some TikTok. So
yes, we do. We share TikToks all the time, which we cannot talk about on this podcast because there's a lot of bad words in those TikToks. They're super motivational though.
They are motivational.
And hey, if you're a gym owner, join the movement and sign up for MotUS today. Thank you guys so much for listening. We are excited for you to have the MotUS Edge, and we are excited to be in year 2 of the podcast.
Boom.
All right, let's go. Yes, because of you. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you again next week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Y'all.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.